Welcome to Survivor NSFW, a special Q&A session. A lot went down this week, Johnny. Introduce our special guest and what's happening, my brother.
All right, this is my friend Susie. We actually met during the summer. She is a podcast aficionado. Is that correct?
I guess so.
Well, I mean, you listen to two of the best that I'm aware of. So we'll call it that for now. That card subject to change based on this Q&A. So Matt and I had recorded a Q&A that was supposed to drop on Friday with Brandon Hance, and we're like, this is a pretty evergreen interview. I mean, for those of you that are anxiously anticipating it, I can say Brandon was on the defensive the entire time, and Matt was a more aggressive version of Matt than you typically have here on the show because, Matt had some questions involving the finale and other stuff that Brandon was directly responsible for. So there was tension there, and that was followed up with the fact that Brandon hates Survivor, anyone that watches Survivor, and and anything Survivor related. So all that combined, I feel led to an interview or a Q&A that we can throw up at any time. People will be like, wow, that was something. But timely wise, Susie, you were there Wednesday night in Durham, North Carolina for the one of our live unauthorized Survivor NSFW viewing parties. I thought it was incredible, but I felt that it, if you listen to the podcast and you watch the video here on Patreon, there were some things you didn't see, and I just felt it was newsworthy enough that let's pull back the curtain and let everybody in on some of the shenanigans that took place at the Dirty Bull Brewing Company.
So for before you guys get into it, let me just kind of tell what happened. So, Johnny had this live watch, Survivor NSFW party planned, and then Brandon Hance, like 2 days before, decides to drive from Houston, Texas, I believe, straight
20 hours,
all the way to Johnny Fairplay's house. So to me,
and the initial reach out was, what's the deal with this Survivor party thing? Like, I want to be involved. Like, what do I need to do to be there? And my first response is, don't. I would rather, not in a negative way. I would rather save you. Like I'm doing have Cincinnati coming up with Matt November 21st, and then Jimmy's Famous Seafood in Baltimore for the finale. I'm just like, you know what? I'd love to. I think you would be a get for the finale. Like, let's save you for that. Let me do some advertising, put you on the posters, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, no, I kind of need to leave town now. Which should have been clue number one. That maybe there's something's rotten in Denmark. But no, Johnny Fairplay says, well, come on down. We'll make it work. And so the show was the party was on a Wednesday night, just like Survivor. So he's supposed to be in town on Tuesday, and the girlfriend's like, how long is this guy gonna be? I'm just like, just a day, 2 days tops. So then on Facebook, there's a post that had at Johnny Fairplay that says, in the car, fam, see you in 17 hours. And I'm like, hold on, let me message you. And so that the messaging involves for reals, and it's just like, yeah, I'll see you Monday at 1 o'clock. And I have a job. Matt, you work, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Susie, do you work?
I'm in grad school.
Okay. Well,
but you're busy. You have a schedule.
There's a schedule.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You have a schedule.
So you feel how this works for Norm.
I have responsibilities and cannot take a 20-hour trip for no reason.
Or house someone impromptu.
Yeah, or impose a 20-hour trip upon a person.
Okay. So anyway, but once, what, I'm like, hey, I think this will be something to talk about. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm kind of taking one for the team here. And fast forward to Monday afternoon, he arrives with his friend, and just right out of his mouth, he was just like, "Hey, like this is exciting. We finally meet. We hadn't met before, right?" I'm like, "No, because he doesn't remember if we possibly did." He was like, "Do you remember the first time you met my uncle, Russell Hantz?" And I go, "Yes." It was not under the best of circumstances. The Heroes Villains finale, I threw the party the night before in New York at actually Ethan Zahn helped me arrange through mutual friends a place called Pop Burger, which has nothing to do with burgers or pop. It's a cool, dark nightclub, and they opened it up just for us. Free booze for the survivors. The girls that were working there were on a volunteer basis. They were not paid to be there. And so basically it's just like, my friend's just like, "Hey, tip them, make it worth their time to be here. No problem. We're making it worth their while." And it was a fun night. I'm pulled to the side by the owner. He's just like, "Hey, the little guy with the Napoleon complex is being rude to the waitresses. He's demanding drinks. Like we're not even charged, but he the guy's an asshole. Can you talk to him?" So as I'm about to talk to him, him and Randy Bailey are having a heated discussion. Russell grabs a pool stick, breaks it over his knee, and I'm just like, dude, like this is about as disrespectful as you, and I this is the first time I ever met Russell. I'm like, this is the most disrespectful you could possibly be to me. Like that, like you've hit every corner of disrespect. And so this is the conversation that I have with Brandon, like 1.5 minutes after he arrives. And I was just like, well, I've seen him since, and whatever. I don't know. Would you say that was comparable to last night, Susie?
Well, he didn't actually break anything.
He did not.
And he only tried to start a fight. He was not successful in actually having the fight that he tried to start.
Well, yeah. Susie,
but the
better impression than Uncle Russell.
So here's the deal. I obviously wasn't there. So Susie, kind of run me through. You show up at the party at Dirty Bull, and does Brandon Hantz?
Well, give us some highlights too, not just like.
No, but I'm saying when you first got there.
How would you rate the experience?
Well, so which question should I answer?
I don't know, both. Pick.
So when I first got there, I was actually greeted by Brandon Hantz. He said, "Hey, Mama," and I was like, "Okay." And I said, "Is there check-in anywhere for the event?" And he said, "In my pants," and like pointed to his crotch. So that was how my evening started.
For the record, he was not in charge of checking tickets. I just want to point that out because I did the Jimmy's Famous Seafood one for the premiere. This was my second event, and then as stated, Matt and I are doing Frickers in Cincinnati. That's not how we will be checking tickets.
No, and so my question was he intoxicated at this point, Susie?
I think so. He did he did at one point just straight up said that he was high.
Well, I mean, so he might not have been intoxicated. He was just high.
But it's also really sad in a lot of ways.
Right. So that's the first thing he says to you when you have never met the dude ever, and you're a fan of Survivor. You're probably taken back. There's probably one part of you that's like, that was really screwed up what he just said to me, and then there's another part of you that's probably like, I expect nothing less from the Brandon Hantz I saw on TV.
Right. I mean, where it's like it
was a badge of honor.
Yeah.
To some degree. I think Brandon might have named.
I don't feel honored by being.
No, you shouldn't.
I don't really allow anybody to speak to me that way. But Brandon Hantz definitely has not demonstrated that I should expect anything else from him. So.
But the reality of it is that's not cool. Like if my wife or my sister or someone I know, like that just is like,
Yeah.
It shows complete blatant disrespect.
Yeah, he was not acting on behalf of me or the podcast when he did. All right. So prior to you getting there, we had one of the patrons, BA. She was doing a live, a Facebook Live thing. It's just like, hey, I just got here to Johnny's party. This is really cool. I'm super excited. And Zane Knight's there, and Zane's like, this is probably the greatest night of Zane's life. Like honestly, I gave him a buff, and that was like, he was like, this, I don't like, probably top 3 things that's ever happened to me. He's like, I think he got like 8 cases of Monster Energy drink one time, and then this buff, those 1 and 2 of greatest things ever. But so she's broadcast Facebook Living, and Brandon goes, well, Johnny's let me stay at his house, so I feel obligated to hook him up. So he grabs the camera from BA. He goes, hey, so if you watch Survivor, you're stupid, and why would anybody pay to watch Survivor, or why this show is stupid? And so BA ended her live feed and pressed delete and said that you're probably not helping. So. Yeah, he was not a representative of the podcast at that point or later.
Here's the deal. I mean, any guest we have on, like at any of these events, typically the majority of Survivor contestants that I have met are super cool. And even like Jonny, okay? You see Jonny, before I became friends with him, watching him on the show, Johnny's a villain, but Johnny's a great dude. You know what I mean? He's got a kids, and he's got a big heart. He's still a villain, and he has that side to him, but there's a difference between villainous people and people that have issues or just anger problems or
Can I go out on a limb here, Matt, and say that Roger Bingham will not ask any female to check his ding dong for a ticket?
So first of all, on behalf of I wasn't there. Jonny had nothing to do with that, so I want to apologize for Brandon's.
No one needs to. The only person who should apologize for Brandon is Brandon. Also, I am fine.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Jonny can tell you that I can handle myself very well. And
you were laughing it off pretty well.
Yes.
Like I said, I expect nothing less from Brandon.
Yeah. So what? Okay, so that's the first thing, and then does it just kind of? Do you walk to somebody else? Is Allison there at the time, or Jane?
Allison wasn't there yet. I walked in. I saw Jonny, and another one of my friends, another Survivor fan who lives in Durham, and I was talking to them. Filled them in on my introduction to the evening.
I told Susie earlier. I felt Susie was my eyes and ears for the evening. I got like updates about every 15-20 minutes, and I felt like there was shock, embarrassment, bewilderment. I mean, I mean, I don't even like there's like steps to emotion and recovery and I mean, I will fast forward a little bit to a later part in the evening when it's I told Matt this earlier. It's just Susie was just like, is it tough with someone like Brandon, like maintaining sobriety, do you have the urge to drink or do drugs with Brandon here? And I'm just like, I'm like, I have the urge to beg for prohibition to come back. I don't think I've ever. I mean, honestly, and I want to do this on the main podcast next week. I know for a fact that I had plenty of Fairplay moments because I drank a lot and I did drugs and I got into the occasion. I don't think I was ever brain enhanced level, but I think I had my moments. Mm-hmm. And I owe like 1,000 apologies and I'd like to get them out there because I mean it's just seeing it, it's just like I mean it was rough. I mean I think I think everyone probably would have had more fun without Brandon there, but I think people were just like, well, I got the Brandon Hans experience.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can like giggle and laugh about the Brandonness of last night, but I think probably like my best conversations I had were like with Allison and with Allison's mom. Allison's mom is so sweet.
Yeah.
And just like with the other fans, really.
And Jonny Fairplay.
And Jonny Fairplay.
So Susie, is this
just making sure?
Was this your first experience? Have you been to a lot of Survivor related events, or was this the first time you've ever been to like a watch party?
A couple. I've been to a couple live know-it-alls that Rob Sesternino does.
Yeah. It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really fun.
This was night and day. This was a more intimate affair, I would say.
There weren't a lot of people there.
But the thing is,
there was about 40 people. That's not bad. I mean, like Rob C has auditoriums like that.
Right.
That wasn't my goal. Was to create an intimate experience.
Yeah, it was nice, and everybody got to talk to everybody, and yeah.
And you got to experience, as a Survivor fan, for me especially, doing these podcasts and these videos that we do, going to events and charity events and meeting people. For me, it's awesome because I'm a huge fan of Survivor. So like, I get excited just like I'm sure you do. And even Jonny, meeting new cast, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's, as a fan, it's like cool to, like, sometimes I have to like pinch myself, and I appreciate the experience so much. And that it just keeps on giving joy to not only myself but to others around me. And I think for
meeting Nick, we met Nick in Cincinnati in June of this year. I was like, oh my God, I just want to eat him up. Like I love him. And then, I got a chance to hang out with him again at Hearts Reality. And I'm just like, this is my guy. And like, I'm like on the 21st of November, not trying to plug here, but like, I'm excited to present Nick to the world that hasn't met. Like, I'm just like, hug him like here, and I'm just like, and I was like, and similarly I was like, and here's Brandon Hans. Well, don't touch him because
here's the thing, Jonny, you're trying to do, I was unable to be there, but
I was doing God's work.
You're trying to do cool stuff, like you're trying to do cool stuff and include people, and you opened your house up to Brandon, and unfortunately he just being Brandon, and now but it's
the people that heard the podcast like that. I mean, you probably chopped out 8 minutes of that podcast.
Yeah, I literally Susie, we recorded the podcast, right? So he was saying all kinds of stuff to where I'm not trying. Like Jonny and I was telling Jonny this earlier. We have a good time. We're not as serious as some other podcast. Jonny and I have only been doing this together for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, something like that. And we have a good time, and yeah, we throw the F-bomb here and there. But the reality is I'm not here to condone certain types of behavior. So when I was, I felt bad because Jonny's live at this bar, and you guys are all there, and I'm recording the podcast. When I was done, I literally had to watch the majority of whenever Brandon was on there. I had to clip out tons of stuff because I don't want our audience of people hearing about Adderall and cocaine and all this stuff.
Susie was just like, she goes, you did catch that he said the N-word on your podcast. And I was just like, I was like, Matt texted and said he's doing a lot of editing, and lot is in all caps. So I'm thinking we're okay.
It was like midnight because I wanted to make the best.
I didn't think you were cutting out Jane.
No. Literally, it was like I went through, and when I got to Brandon, and it's all good. And here's the thing. I'm not here to bash on Brandon. I hope he squares his life. I hope he squares his life away. But it's pretty creative. What else happened
Oh yeah, there's
there?
more. There's plenty.
Explain to me later on through the night. Obviously, I saw a picture of Brandon on Instagram or Facebook or something saying the perks of being on a reality TV show, and there's like 4 glasses of whatever, wine, beer. So I'm sure throughout the night he got a little more.
Well,
crazy.
he only had hundreds from whatever. He only had $100 bills. So he's just like, hey, Fairplay, can you pay for my drink? And I was like, no. And I think somehow through that ask that he, I had a free tab because they're just like, anything you want, like, and I'm just like, you got water?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I think somehow Brandon jumped on my tab, which is fine because anything I wanted was comped.
Right.
So but are you trying to say he's one to take advantage of something like that and have 5 drinks in front of him as a result of that conversation?
Yes.
Yeah. But no, give it. Susie has some of the better stories that as I said, I fortunately caught secondhand. Because,
I want to hear him, Susie.
I was running a show, Matt.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it's quite interesting hearing how often he says that he hates people who watch Survivor, because he also tried to fight a man who was attending a show for not knowing who he was and not being a fan of Survivor. Like, this guy with his girlfriend or with his friends, and then Brandon tried to fight him when he said, "I don't know who you are," and I overheard like, "You want to fight a celebrity?" Was one of the.
I heard. I mean, I'm finishing the podcast and and I'm trying to be like, Brandon, we're not fighting tonight, and then I'm going back. I'm like,
I see this happening, and I'm like, oh my gosh, which grown up should I who is Brandon's grown up right now? And Jonny was the closest thing to that. Yeah. So I was like, Jonny, Burton's trying to fight somebody, and Jonny.
Then I hear that he goes,
Brandon, stop it! Don't do that.
And he goes, you need to respect me, and I'm just like, everyone respects everyone tonight. We respect the fact that no one's fighting.
Yeah.
Dude.
I think actually, so the friend that Brandon brought with him, I think
not
she
his
was
girlfriend.
That's his girlfriend. Yeah, I think
no, not his girlfriend.
Not his girlfriend. Friend.
Not, okay. He points that out. He did mention head a lot, but
Right.
Not his girlfriend.
I think that she was actually the person who was able to talk him down from that.
I asked today how the night ended, and she said that she did a lot of damage control. She said it was much worse after we saw him at the Dirty Bull.
Let me ask you this. So Jonny, and so did he leave? Did he come back to your house, Jonny, or did he stay out somewhere else?
He suppose I got back around 1 perhaps, and supposedly he got back around 2. But the best part was so he posted so I saw him at some point, and he goes I don't know if you're aware, but the place that you did your show last night, that was a college town. And I'm just like,
Duke University.
Motherfucker, it's Duke University. And he goes, no shit. I go, no shit. He goes, I drank at Duke University.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. So Susie, overall,
he did not drink at Duke University.
No, he drank at Dirty Bull. So besides the brand, let's just switch gears for a minute. So besides the Brandon thing,
but there's more. Please enlighten our viewers about the opportunity that could have been had.
I'm not gonna. No.
Okay, you know
that's your story to tell, Jonny.
No, it's okay. Okay, I didn't hear it firsthand.
All right, so listen.
First opportunity. I thought about.
Go
There was
ahead.
an opportunity provided to you, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh well, but the opportunity was also presented to other people in the parking lot and to the. It's okay.
Well, you can just use your imagination. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
Aside from Brandon Hance, Jane from Survivor Nicaragua and Zane was there, and Allison. So how was that experience?
Let's break them down one at a time. All right, let's start with Jane. Had you met Jane before?
No. I didn't really get to talk with her. I talked with her a little bit. She's really sweet.
She said she hated you.
She hated me?
That's what she said. I told her. I told her. No, she did not say that.
I mean, I don't know that she talked to me enough to know who I am. But,
She's a sweetheart. She doesn't hate any. Well, she doesn't hate that Elizabeth complains. You don't need to complain out there when you at the merge. You need to be happy for everything.
I thought she was really sweet, and I thought she was like really funny.
Yeah, she's a hoot.
I didn't talk to her very much.
She's a hoot.
So what about Allison?
Allison is so great. She looked really beautiful last night.
I thought
she wearing like a really like cute outfit, and her hair was really cute.
Yeah.
And her mom was coming to visit. Her mom like surprised her to come out and visit.
Kansas City.
From Kansas City, Missouri, or Kansas. I actually don't know.
One of the two. Yeah.
Yeah, she came to visit, and so watching Allison's mom watch her win the challenge was so sweet.
One of my favorite moments of watching Survivor with other survivors ever in my history of watching Survivor. I mean, like I feel that I provided one of the coolest Survivor moments ever for I'm just like, no fucking way. So because I asked her afterwards, I was just like, so did you know? She goes, yeah, I knew. And I'm just like, no. Like at the beginning, she goes, yeah, and I'm just like, man, you're smart. Because like I didn't like if you would have been like, hey, what happens on the 9th episode of your season? I'm like, I don't know. I use a wrestler's catchphrase. I don't know. I have no clue.
Right.
Well, she knew that she won the challenge after the merge. So
yeah, but I mean, there, with the cyclone and other stuff, she could have been off, it could have been the episode before that. I mean, there's probably a guesstimation, but an exact, that's I might not have guessed exactly.
But that had to have been a great moment, like you said, watching her mom watch her daughter.
Watching her win, the place is like, whoa! I mean, because it was just so cool.
During the challenge, there was one point that I turned to Allison. When it was there was not that many people left, and I turned to Allison and I was like, "Do you win?" And she just went being some silly face. And then I was like, "I think she wins," and then she did, and I was like, I was so happy for her.
That was really awesome.
It was so cool. So that was cool.
All of the rotations that she did the whole time, and I was like, "That's why you're a doctor, because I can't count that."
Yeah,
well, that's
25. She got up to 2,500 counting.
And I think that by doing that, I was driving down the road today. I have a long commute, and I was thinking about what you said, Johnny, 2,500. And I'm thinking that you have to keep that witch's brew motion going. And I think by counting and watching and being very specific was a good strategy of doing that.
You have to have something to focus what you're doing. And
right.
to be able to repeat it and counting like
other
that.
Than saying how great you are.
Yeah, like Dan was doing.
Yeah, the real star of last night's episode was positive self-talk.
Yeah.
And as a social worker, I'm really proud of those survivors.
My good friend Brandon is all about positive self-talk.
So Susie, have you been a fan of Survivor for a long, long time?
Actually no, but I'm I'm pretty recent fan, but I was immediately super obsessed.
So are you now going, because here's the funny thing. It's pretty interesting when people saying what you said. Maybe 2-3 years ago, I traveled to Texas and I gave a speech on this bike company that I work for, right? And there was a guy that works for another bike company, and I something got brought up that I was on Survivor, and he's like, "Oh, I never watched the show before," and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And I was talking to him about it. I met him a year later, and he's obsessed with it. he's asking me tips on applying, and he said, dude, I've watched. He was more of an expert on Survivor than me. He literally binge watched from season 1 all the way through to catching up in a year's time. So he knew everything was fresh on his mind. So it's cool. Are you going back and watching earlier seasons?
Yeah, I've gone back and watched a bunch of seasons. I haven't watched all of them yet,
right?
But I've watched most
Pearl
of them,
Islands?
and but also as I'm watching them, I'm also
Pearl Islands?
like reading all the things.
Pearl Islands.
Jonny, calm down.
The only reason I was asking is because we do have the companion piece, the Castaway Watch Along, in which we break. You have the episode on one side of the screen and then us on the other, and we give you like the director's commentary.
So
like
do you
the Criterion Collection?
So you're a big fan now. Are you? Do you enjoy? Obviously, Jonny said you listen to podcasts and stuff like that. Do you enjoy watching these YouTube versions of the podcast, or do you do not?
I listen to the podcast mostly while I'm doing paperwork, or driving or working out. So.
You have a lot of time on your hands to listen or whatever.
Yeah.
So what other podcasts?
Same here.
What other podcasts do you listen to?
Well, RHAP, and then I also listen to ATF, all the fixins with Max and Corinne. But they don't really talk about the show. They just talk about gossip.
Oh yeah, yeah. Corinne was on my season of Survivor, and I got to go on a pre-jury trip with Corinne and spend a lot of time with her, so that we could do a whole podcast on Corinne on our pre-jury trip. And the other thing is, Max,
I got an update from Susie last night. So this was Brandon's first stop on doing the Survivor circuit, which he hates Survivor. So next he's going to stay with Eliza in New York, and then he wanted to swing from there to Cincinnati, and then he also lined up staying with Corinne in Colorado. But we got an update on that.
Oh God, what's the update?
I don't know that she's quite very excited for that visit.
No, I can guarantee you that she's not going to let him anywhere near.
The invitation has been in fact extended. From what I've heard about her.
Yeah, there was no invitation. Brandon heard an invitation that wasn't there.
Wow. Yeah, not surprising. But here's the interesting thing. Max Dawson, when I was at my casting finals in Los Angeles for Survivor Caramoan, Max Dawson was there. He was in the mix. I would see him every day at the things we were doing. He did not make the show. I did. He had a beard. I had a beard, but we're totally two different people altogether. I'm totally cool with Max, but I don't know if Max was like if it was between Max and I. There was quite a few people that didn't make it, but Max Dawson was there, and I remember I have it in like a journal. I would see him in these yoga pants doing all these like crazy like weird stretches and stuff, you know what I mean, every day, and then a couple seasons later or whatever, season 30 I guess it was, he shows up on Survivor, and I was like, God dang it, man, like I would have way rather played an all newbie season of Survivor versus a fans versus favorite type scenario. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it is what it is. I'm lucky I got to play, and I'm not going to complain, but anyways.
Okay. Two quick things before we let you go, Susie. Zane Knight, how was the Zane Knight experience? He was very nice.
Right? Didn't too much either, but yeah, he was just like really happy to be there and like a big sweetheart. He showed off his belly rocker tattoo. That was a blast.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. I have. Yeah.
I didn't see that. You know what? I'm bringing Zane with me to Cincinnati. I don't think anyone had more fun there than Zane Knight.
Well, you know why? I'll tell you why. Because that dude is a guy that appreciates the small things, and appreciates just the experience, and he doesn't take it for granted because he, like you said, it was probably the coolest thing he's ever done. That's awesome.
It was.
If Zane's life was touched in a positive way because of last night, then it made all the other craziness completely worthwhile. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. And final question: how was the overall experience?
It was a fun night. I had a good time.
Sweet. So, would you do it again?
I would do it again. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
There's a in parentheses.
That drove like hours and hours to get there, and
you live there.
Yeah, I live in Durham. I drove 10 minutes to get there. I don't know that I would drive.
What about Charlotte?
What
what if I do Charlotte in the future?
I guess it would depend on what I have going on the next day.
Okay.
Fair enough. Well, hey, you know what?
I mean, it would be a Wednesday night.
Right.
Obviously.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm looking at next season. We have Nashville on the cards. We're looking at possibly Boston. So there's but I wouldn't mind a return to the Dirty Bull. I thought it was a fun deal. As I said, an intimate affair. I love doing these, and I
think they'll let you back as long as you don't bring Brandon. But yeah.
Well, Brandon actually has the owner's number because Brandon.
I don't know if that bartender would allow him back in his bar in the bar.
I talked to the bartender for a while because I wanted to leave the place. I'm one of those that believes I'm a realtor and I manage 400 rental properties, and I tell them, they're just like, am I ever going to see my security deposit again? I'm just like, hey, you leave it like you found it. We give all 100%. We don't need your security deposit. It goes into a savings account. It's not our money, so we're not banking on it. So we like 30 days notices and just leave it like you found it. So anyway, I went through and I took all the the Survivor NSFW stuff that I'd put up, and so I was talking, and she was very nice. She didn't think her wife would have been a big fan of Brandon Hans, but her and the owner actually got chuckles out because Brandon's not a beer drinker, and asked the owner for his personal number because he would like the owner to send a keg to Houston.
Okay.
and I was like, so did he give his real number? He was like, yeah, he thought he was funny. He's we could have done without the violent tendencies, but there was humor there. So right. I think there was to some degree an entertainment value that people took from it.
Right. Yeah.
We'll leave it at that. Well, Susie, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. And it's been awesome. Hopefully I can meet you one day. And if you haven't watched my season, watch it at some time. And good to meet you.
Good to meet you too. Good to see you, Jonny.
That's it for this week's Q&A. Next week, you get the evergreen interview with Brandon Hans, in which Matt and Brandon, I think, hate each other. So enjoy.
Cheers.